presented by Soundlibra.com. Explore more titles via the link in the description or at Soundlibra.com. The spark of responsibility is the start of a revolution.
Owning everything sounds like a lot, Alex. But before we jump in, a quick note to our listeners. This series explores personal growth and mental shifts, but it's not a substitute for professional medical or mental health advice. If you're struggling, please consult a qualified professional.
That's an important point. This is about empowerment and exploring what it truly means to change our lives. You see, for most of us, our first instinct when things go wrong is to look for someone or something else to blame. It's a natural human tendency, right? We experience a setback, a disappointment, or a failure, and our minds immediately start searching for reasons outside ourselves.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a default setting. Did the traffic make me late? Was it my boss's unreasonable demand? Did my teammate drop the ball? It's always an external factor.
And that's precisely the pattern we're here to break. Blame is a comfortable place to hide, but it's also a cage. It keeps us stuck, disempowered, and stagnant. This podcast, this responsibility revolution, is about stepping out of that cage and into a life of radical responsibility. So, what does owning everything really mean? It's not about taking the blame for things that aren't your fault. That's not healthy. Instead, it's about acknowledging your part in every situation and recognizing that you always have agency. You always have a choice in how you respond.
Agency and choice. So, even if I can't control what happens to me, I can control how I react to it.
Precisely. Think of it this way. Imagine you're in a boat and a storm hits. You didn't cause the storm, right? But you can choose how you steer the boat. You can fight the waves, try to navigate to calmer waters, or you can just let the storm toss you around. Owning everything means taking the helm, even when the seas are rough. It's about shifting your focus from, why is this happening to me, to what can I do about this?
That makes sense. So, it's more about my internal response and my subsequent actions than accepting fault for an external event.
Exactly. And this is the spark, the ignition for the entire responsibility revolution. It starts with that internal shift. We tend to believe that circumstances dictate our happiness and our success. If only my boss were different, if only my partner understood me, if only I had more money. We become passengers in our own lives, waiting for external things to change before we can feel good or achieve our goals.
And that's a really disempowering way to live. It means we're constantly waiting for permission or for the stars to align.
It is. And what happens then? We often end up feeling frustrated, resentful, and helpless. This is the illusion of blame. It feels like it's solving a problem, but it's actually creating a bigger one. The problem of not being in control of your own life. The first step in owning everything is to recognize this pattern of blame. Notice when you're doing it. When something goes wrong, pause. Instead of immediately asking, whose fault is it? Ask yourself, what is my role in this situation, and what is my best response?
So, the first step is self-awareness, catching ourselves in the act of blaming.
Yes, it's like shining a flashlight into the dark corners where blame likes to hide. And once you see it, you can start to change it. This isn't about guilt. It's about empowerment. When you own your part, you also own your power to change things. You become the creator of your experience, not just a victim of it.
It sounds like a fundamental reframe. Instead of being reactive to life, we become proactive.
That's a great way to put it, Lisa. Proactive. And here's the exciting part. This shift, this spark of responsibility, can be incredibly transformative. When you start to own everything, your reactions, your choices, your contributions to any situation, you unlock a level of personal power you might not have realized you had. You become the decision maker. You become the problem solver. You become the architect of your own life.
So, it's not just about avoiding blame, but about actively choosing your path forward, no matter the circumstances.
Exactly. And this is the core philosophy we'll be exploring throughout this series. We'll delve into how this applies to our relationships, our careers, our parenting, and our personal growth. Each episode will build on this foundational idea that by owning everything, we gain the ultimate freedom, the freedom to shape our lives intentionally.
It's a big idea, but it feels incredibly hopeful. So, to recap, shifting from blame to owning everything is about recognizing our agency and our power to choose our responses, even when we can't control the external events.
Beautifully summarized, Lisa. That's the spark. That's the very beginning of the responsibility revolution. It all starts with that willingness to look inward and say, what is mine here? And then choosing to take the wheel.
I'm excited to see where this journey takes us.
Me too. In next episode, we'll explore something fascinating, the illusion of blame, and why we're so drawn to it in the first place. Next episode, the illusion of blame. Welcome back. Last time, we ignited the spark of responsibility. Today, we're diving deep into the illusion of blame.
It's true, Alex. Blame is like a reflex. Something goes wrong, and our first instinct is to find someone or something else to point the finger at. It feels good in the moment, like a release valve.
Exactly, Lisa. Blame offers a temporary shield. When we blame someone else, we distance ourselves from the discomfort, the perceived failure, or the negative consequences. Think about everyday frustrations. Your internet is slow. You blame the provider. You have a disagreement with a friend. You blame them for misunderstanding you.
And at work, oh, the opportunities for blame are endless. If a project misses a deadline, it's easy to say, well, John didn't get me his part on time, or the marketing team didn't give us a realistic target. We deflect, and suddenly, it's not our problem anymore.
But that's the illusion, isn't it? Blame, while offering immediate relief, actually paralyzes us. It prevents us from looking inward and identifying what we could have done differently or what truly needs to be addressed at its root. It's like putting a pretty sticker on a leaky pipe. The leak is still there, but for a moment, it looks better.
So, the sticker might cover the immediate problem, but it doesn't fix the pipe. And in life, that means the underlying issues remain unresolved, and we keep repeating the same patterns.
Precisely. When we focus on who is at fault, we're not focusing on how to fix the situation or prevent it from happening again. We're stuck in a cycle of accusation rather than a cycle of solutions. This is where the locus of control comes into play, which we'll explore more next time. But for now, consider this. If you believe the problem lies entirely outside of you, then the solution must also lie outside of you, and you have no power to change it.
That's a crucial point. If I blame my colleague for a miscommunication, I'm waiting for them to change their communication style or to magically understand me better. I'm not taking any action myself to clarify, to follow up, or to adjust my own approach.
And so often, we see this in relationships. A couple argues, and each person believes the other is entirely to blame for the conflict. They dig in their heels, defend their position, and recount all the ways the other person is wrong. What happens? The conflict escalates, and the underlying connection between them weakens.
It's much harder to say, okay, I understand why you're upset. And I admit I could have handled my side of this differently. Perhaps I wasn't clear enough, or I didn't listen as well as I should have. That feels vulnerable, doesn't it?
It feels vulnerable because it is. It requires admitting imperfection, which is something society often trains us to avoid. We're taught to be strong, to be right. But true strength and real growth comes from acknowledging our part, no matter how small it might seem. Blame is a shortcut to avoid this necessary vulnerability.
So, when we feel that urge to blame, maybe it's a signal to pause, to ask ourselves, instead of thinking about who's wrong, what's actually wrong here, and what can I do to make it right, or at least better?
That's the million-dollar question, Lisa. It shifts the focus from a defensive stance to a proactive one. Instead of asking, whose fault is this? We start asking, what is the best way forward? This is about owning your responses to circumstances, not necessarily claiming ownership of the circumstances themselves.
That distinction is really important. We can't always control what happens to us, but we can control how we react to it. Blame keeps us stuck in the idea that we are controlled by external events and people.
Think of it like driving. You're on the road, and another car cuts you off aggressively. Your immediate blame reflex might be to honk, yell, or curse the other driver. But what if you recognize that your aggressive reaction only further escalates the situation, potentially leading to more dangerous driving or just ruining your own mood for the rest of the day?
Instead, you could choose to take a deep breath, recognize that the other driver might be having a terrible day, and focus on safely navigating around them without engaging in a road rage battle. You're still dealing with the fact that you were cut off, but you're choosing a responsible, calmer response.
You've transformed a potential moment of shared anger into a moment of personal control and safety. That's the power of moving away from blame. Blame is a dead end. It stops inquiry. It stops learning. It stops progress. It's a comforting lie that keeps us trapped.
So, to recap, blame offers a fleeting sense of relief by externalizing problems, but it's an illusion. It prevents us from taking ownership of our reactions and finding real solutions. By shifting from blaming others to looking at our own role and how we can move forward, we reclaim our power and open the door to genuine growth and resolution.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that pointing fingers is easy, but building bridges requires looking at ourselves and our actions. The illusion of blame keeps us stuck in the past, rehashing who did what. Owning our responses, even to difficult circumstances, propels us into a more empowered future.
It's a fundamental shift in perspective, moving from a victim mentality to a proactive one. Blame says, "This happened to me." Responsibility says, "This happened, and now here's what I'm going to do about it."
Next episode, we'll build on this by exploring the locus of control, the internal versus external forces we perceive as guiding our lives. Understanding this will further illuminate why blame is so pervasive and how to cultivate a more internal locus of control. Next episode, the locus of control, internal versus external. Welcome back. Last time, we dismantled the illusion of blame. Now, let's tackle the locus of control.
The locus of control is about where we believe the power lies in our lives. Do we believe we are in charge, or do things happen to us?
That's the difference between an internal and an external locus. An internal locus means you believe your actions and decisions are the main drivers of what happens. Think of shining a spotlight inward.
So, they see themselves as the captains of their ship, looking at their steering and sails when a storm hits.
Precisely. Someone with an external locus shines that spotlight outward, believing luck or fate dictate their destiny. When a storm hits, they're more likely to say, "This weather is just terrible."
It's like being a passenger, feeling powerless against circumstances.
That powerlessness is a barrier to responsibility. Cultivating an internal locus is the next crucial step. If you believe you're the cause of your outcomes, you can make changes.
Can you share a personal story?
In my early 20s, I disliked my job. I complained about my boss and colleagues, feeling trapped by my circumstances. That was my external locus. I was waiting for something outside me to change.
Waiting for the external world to shift.
Yes, but one day a mentor asked, "Alex, you have control over how you approach this job and whether you look for something else. What will you do?" I realized I wasn't trapped. My complaints distracted from actions I could take.
You shifted from what was happening to you to what you could do about it.
Exactly. I controlled my attitude, my effort, and my interactions. Most importantly, I had the power to search for a new opportunity. I stopped blaming my boss and started taking steps. Within months, I found a better role.
You changed your internal response and actions, leading to an external change.
Precisely. That's the power of an internal locus. It's not pretending everything is perfect. Life throws curveballs. It's recognizing where your control lies. In your mindset, choices, reactions, and efforts.
So, owning responsibility is about owning your part in how you respond to what happens.
You've nailed it. It's acknowledging, okay, this happened. What is my part, and what can I do now? It's moving from a victim mentality to an agentic one. Failure becomes data, not inadequacy.
And success isn't just luck, but a validation of your efforts and choices.
Absolutely. People with a stronger internal locus tend to be more motivated, achieve more, experience less stress, and have better well-being. They're proactive in their health, finances, and relationships.
How do we cultivate this internal locus if we felt like victims?
It's a practice. First, notice your language. When things go wrong, do you look for an external scapegoat? Ask yourself, what was my role? What could I have done differently? Acknowledge it.
Shining that internal spotlight, even if it's a flicker.
Exactly. Second, focus on what you can control, your effort, attitude, preparation, and decision to seek help. Choose one small area and focus on these controllable aspects.
So, instead of feeling overwhelmed by a project, I could focus on my daily effort and asking clarifying questions.
Perfect. Third, celebrate your internal wins. When you make a good decision or handle a situation well, acknowledge that you did that. Internalize the success.
That internal reinforcement builds the belief that you are in control.
It truly is. And finally, this is a marathon, not a sprint. There will be days you slip back into external thinking. That's okay. Recognize it and gently guide yourself back. It's about consistent practice and self-compassion.
So, the locus of control is about whether we believe our outcomes are determined by internal choices and actions or external forces. Shifting towards an internal locus means recognizing that while we can't control every event, we can control our responses, our efforts, and our attitudes. This empowers us to embrace responsibility and shape our lives.
That's a perfect summary. Moving from an external locus to an internal one unlocks our agency. It's understanding that you are the primary architect, whether things are good or bad.
And that's an empowering place to stand. It's the foundation for taking true ownership.
It absolutely is. Next time, we'll explore how this internal locus of control directly impacts our ability to own our responses, not just our circumstances.
So, get ready to dive into owning your reactions. We'll see you then.
Welcome back. Last time, we explored the locus of control. Today, we tackle owning your responses, not your circumstances.
That's a crucial distinction, Alex. How do we reconcile owning everything with life's curveballs?
Owning everything means owning your reaction to events. You can't control the deer leaping out, but you own your response, panicking or reacting effectively.
So, the deer is external, but how we handle it is our internal response, and that's what we own.
Precisely. If you have an internal locus of control, you recognize you can control your internal response, even when external factors are stacked against you.
It sounds powerful, but difficult. Isn't it easier to feel like a victim?
That's why it's a revolution. Instead of, why is this happening to me? Ask, how will I respond? This moves you from passive recipient to active participant.
Like facing a job loss. You didn't choose it, but updating your resume or falling into depression are own responses.
Exactly. Owning your responses means accepting responsibility for your actions, attitude, and efforts in the face of adversity. You choose how you play the hand you're dealt.
And in relationships, if a friend betrays you, you didn't cause the betrayal, but how you react is owned.
Spot on. Even when someone acts poorly, your response, communication, boundaries, forgiveness, that's entirely your responsibility.
So, responsibility isn't about fault, but about agency, recognizing where our power lies.
Agency is key. By focusing on our responses, we reclaim agency and become architects of our experience. You still control your thoughts, feelings, and decisions.
To recap, owning everything means you're responsible for your response to every event. Circumstances are external, but your reaction is internal and within your power. This reclaims your agency.
This principle is fundamental to living a life of responsibility and transformation. It's about choosing how you show up.
It's a powerful shift.
Indeed. Next episode, we'll expand on the idea of owning everything in relationships. Next episode, the everything in owning everything, relationships part 1. Welcome back. Last time, we explored owning your responses, not your circumstances.
Absolutely, Alex. It set the stage for today's dive into relationships.
Exactly. Today, we're applying the responsibility revolution to relationships. This is where we address the everything in owning everything.
Relationships encompass partners, family, friends, and colleagues. Owning everything means owning our part in these interactions.
I've had to learn tough lessons here. For a long time, I blamed others for relationship conflicts. My first thought was, what did they do wrong?
That's common. It's easier to point outwards than to look within.
Completely. I recall constant friction in one relationship. Arguments escalated. I felt misunderstood, unappreciated, frustrated. My story. My partner was too demanding. I was a victim.
How did that perspective serve you?
It didn't. It kept me stuck, built resentment, and created walls. I sought validation for being wronged, not connection. The more I focused on their faults, the worse it got.
What changed?
Gradually, by applying our principles, I asked, if I'm owning everything, what's my part in this dynamic?
That's a profound question, requiring vulnerability.
It does. I noticed my communication was often reactive. Instead of expressing needs calmly, I used frustration or passive aggression. I interpreted actions through past hurts, amplifying slights.
So, you took responsibility for your reactions and assumptions.
Precisely. Instead of they made me feel this way, I thought, I felt this way, and what is my role in this situation? This wasn't about accepting blame for their actions, but acknowledging my agency. My response was mine to own.
That's a critical distinction. Not it's my fault they yelled, but it's my responsibility to choose my reaction and consider if my prior behavior contributed to the tension.
Exactly. This was empowering. When I shifted focus from what did they do wrong to what can I do differently, the dynamic changed. I communicated clearly, expressed needs without accusation, and listened.
And the results?
Remarkable. Arguments decreased and became less intense. Disagreements were navigated constructively. It wasn't about always agreeing, but respecting viewpoints. Resentment faded, replaced by connection.
Owning your everything allowed true connection. When focused on flaws, we aren't present for genuine connection.
Great point. It's like building a bridge while only looking at the cracks on the other side. You must work on your side. This applies to all relationships.
Yes. How often do recurring patterns with family or friends emerge? We might say, that's just how we are. Now, we can ask, what's my role?
Precisely. It could be a communication habit, an assumption, or an unexpressed need. Owning your part means bravely examining these patterns within yourself. Your contributions are significant.
So, to recap, Applying the responsibility revolution to relationships means moving from blame to understanding our role. We examine communication, assumptions, and reactions. Owning our everything opens the door to deeper connection, healthier dynamics, and effective conflict resolution.
Fantastic summary. We can't control others, but we can control our contributions. That's where the real power lies for transforming our connections.
Powerful indeed. Next episode, Owning Your Role in Relationship Dynamics, Part 2.
Welcome back to the Responsibility Revolution. Last time we began exploring how ownership transforms our relationships.
That's right, Alex. Last time we talked about recognizing that we aren't just passive recipients in our relationships. We actively contribute to how things unfold, for better or worse. This episode, we're focusing on those difficult moments, the common relationship pitfalls that can leave us feeling frustrated, misunderstood, or in conflict.
Absolutely. And the first big one we often see is miscommunication. It's incredibly common, isn't it? How many times have you said something and the other person heard something completely different? Or perhaps you thought you understood something, but your interpretation was way off.
Oh, constantly. It's like we're all speaking slightly different languages sometimes, even when using the same words. And it's not just about speaking, it's about listening too. We're often so busy formulating our response that we're not truly hearing what the other person is trying to convey.
Exactly, Lisa. And this is where owning our role comes in. Instead of thinking, they just don't understand me. We need to ask ourselves, how could I have communicated this more clearly? It's about taking responsibility for how we express ourselves. Did I use clear language? Did I check for understanding? Did I create an environment where the other person felt safe to ask clarifying questions?
That's a great point. It's easy to fall into the trap of just blaming the other person for not getting it. But if we want a different outcome, we have to change our own approach to communication. So, it's about being more mindful of our words, our tone, and ensuring our message lands the way we intend.
Precisely. And that brings us to another huge area, unmet expectations. We all, at some level, have expectations of the people in our lives, especially those closest to us. We expect them to behave in certain ways, to respond in specific manners, or to fulfill certain needs.
And when those expectations aren't met, it can lead to disappointment, resentment, and arguments. We might feel let down, even betrayed.
Right? But here's the crucial part for owning our role. Were those expectations clear? Were they communicated openly, or were they implied, or even entirely in our own heads? Often, we expect people to read our minds, and then we get upset when they don't.
So, instead of thinking they should have known, we need to ask, did I actually tell them what I needed or expected? Did I clearly articulate my desires or requirements? It's about being proactive in setting clear expectations rather than waiting for disappointment to strike.
That's the spirit of ownership. It's not about denying our feelings of disappointment. It's about recognizing that we have a key part to play in preventing those unmet expectations from arising in the first place, by being direct and transparent about what we need and want.
This connects back to what we discussed about owning our responses. If our response to unmet expectations is anger or withdrawal, we need to examine why those expectations weren't met and how we could have set them more effectively.
Exactly. And another common dynamic that causes friction is conflict itself. Relationships naturally involve disagreements. It's not the disagreement itself that's necessarily problematic, but how we handle it.
This is where things can get really heated. People might resort to shouting, personal attacks, defensiveness, or shutting down completely, all of which just escalates the problem.
And in those moments, it's so tempting to see ourselves as the victim or to focus solely on how the other person is being unreasonable. But owning our role in conflict means looking at our own contributions to the escalation. Did I interrupt too much? Did I raise my voice? Did I resort to personal insults rather than addressing the actual issue?
This is where practicing owning our responses is so vital. Instead of reacting defensively, could we pause, breathe, and choose a more constructive response? Even if the other person is being difficult, how can I contribute to de-escalating the situation rather than fueling the fire?
It really boils down to shifting our internal narrative. Instead of "they're making me angry," it becomes "I am choosing to respond to this situation in a way that I find productive." It's about recognizing that even in the midst of conflict, we have agency over our reactions and our participation in the argument.
So, to recap for our listeners, we've looked at three common relationship pitfalls: miscommunication, unmet expectations, and conflict. For each, the journey towards owning our role involves asking ourselves how we can improve our communication, how we can clearly articulate our expectations, and how we can manage our responses during disagreements in a way that fosters understanding rather than further division.
And remember the core principle we've been building. Responsibility isn't about fault, it's about power. By owning our role in these dynamics, we reclaim our power to influence the outcome. We move from being a passive observer of our relationship's trajectory to being an active architect of its health and happiness. It's about understanding that even when we can't control the other person's actions, we can always control our own.
And that's a powerful realization. It means we don't have to be stuck in cycles of frustration or conflict. We can actively choose to bring more positive energy, clarity, and understanding into our connections.
This is such a critical piece of the responsibility revolution because our relationships are such a fundamental part of our well-being. By applying these principles, we're not just improving our romantic partnerships, our friendships, or our family ties. We're building a more resilient and fulfilling life for ourselves.
It's about creating a ripple effect of positive change, starting within ourselves and extending outward into every connection we have.
Next episode, we're going to shift our focus to perhaps the most challenging yet rewarding arena for responsibility: parenting. Join us then. Welcome back to the Responsibility Revolution. Today, we're applying these principles to parenting.
Parenting can feel incredibly complex. It's easy to blame our children when things go wrong.
Focusing on blame misses a huge opportunity for growth. Remember when we discussed the illusion of blame? That feeling of frustration and being stuck is amplified in parenting.
Absolutely. When a child makes a mistake and we say, "Why did you do that?" we're telling them their worth is tied to performance and mistakes reflect their character. It creates fear.
Instead of nurturing growth, blame can stun it. It can erode self-esteem and build resentment. So, how do we shift from blame to responsibility? It starts with us, the parents.
The first step is recognizing our children are independent beings. Our role is to guide them through mistakes, not shield them. This means owning our part in their development.
Owning your part is critical. This doesn't mean accepting all their behavior, but taking responsibility for how we respond and how we've contributed to the environment. For instance, if a child struggles with organization, a blame-focused parent might say, "You're so messy."
A responsibility-focused parent might say, "Keeping your space tidy is a challenge. Let's figure out together how we can make this easier. Maybe we need a better system." One is accusatory, the other is collaborative.
It's a fundamental shift. The responsibility-focused parent nurtures growth by teaching problem-solving skills and self-management. This builds resilience, teaching them challenges are surmountable.
This connects to the concept of the locus of control. Blaming a child puts the locus of control external. It's their fault. But by focusing on how we can help them learn, We help them develop an internal locus of control where they have agency.
Precisely. When we frame mistakes as learning opportunities, we give our children tools to develop self-efficacy. They learn to say, okay, that didn't work. What can I try next? Instead of I'm bad. This fosters healthy self-esteem.
This approach also dramatically improves the parent-child relationship. When children feel understood and supported, they are more likely to be open and honest. They'll come to us with problems because they trust we'll help find solutions.
This is paramount for nurturing connection. It fosters trust and opens lines of communication. We want our children to feel safe admitting mistakes and seeking guidance. This happens where blame is minimized and responsibility for learning is maximized.
So, to recap, shifting to responsible parenting means moving away from blaming children. We own our role in creating supportive environments and guiding learning. We frame mistakes as opportunities, fostering problem solving and resilience. This builds a child's internal locus of control and strengthens the parent-child bond through trust.
It's about nurturing their growth, not just correcting behavior. It's about empowering them with the understanding that they can learn, adapt, and overcome challenges. This creates a foundation for lifelong learning and well-being.
It's a more constructive and loving approach.
Indeed. So, next time your child makes a mistake, take a deep breath. Ask yourself, not whose fault is this, but how can we learn from this together? That question opens a world of responsibility and growth.
A powerful way to put it, Alex.
Next episode, building a responsible foundation for your children. Welcome back. Last time we covered parenting with responsibility. Now let's tackle building that foundation for your children.
It's such a vital topic, Alex. We've talked about how responsibility isn't just about avoiding blame, but about proactive ownership. So, how do we effectively translate that into raising kids who naturally embrace it?
The first and most impactful way is through modeling. Children are sponges, and they learn far more from what we do than what we say. If we consistently own our mistakes, apologize when we're wrong, and follow through on our commitments, our children will absorb those behaviors. Imagine a child seeing their parent acknowledge a mistake at work or in a personal relationship, and then actively working to correct it. That's a powerful lesson.
So, it's about being the living, breathing example of responsibility in action. What if we don't always get it right ourselves?
That's precisely the point, Lisa. It's especially powerful when they see us admit imperfection. Saying, you know what, I messed up there, and here's how I plan to fix it, teaches them that mistakes are not the end of the world, but opportunities for learning and growth. This fosters a mindset where they won't fear making errors themselves. Instead of hiding mistakes, they'll be more inclined to address them.
That makes so much sense. It creates a safe space for them to be human. Beyond our own actions, what else can we do?
We can actively involve them in age-appropriate responsibilities around the house, right from a young age. This isn't about punishment. It's about contribution. Giving a toddler a simple task, like putting their toys in a bin, or a slightly older child a responsibility like setting the table or helping feed a pet, helps them understand they're integral parts of a family unit. Each contribution matters.
So, those little chores aren't just about getting help, they're teaching a sense of purpose and contribution.
Exactly. And as they get older, these responsibilities can grow. They can help with meal planning, manage their own school bags, or even learn to do their own laundry. The key is to delegate tasks that genuinely help the household function and provide them with a sense of accomplishment. When a child feels they are contributing and that their efforts are valued, their innate sense of responsibility blossoms.
I like that, valuing their contribution. What about when they don't follow through? This is where the line between nurturing and nagging can get blurry.
That's a crucial point. When a child drops the ball on a responsibility, Our reaction is key. Instead of jumping in to fix it for them or resorting to harsh criticism, we guide them. Ask questions like, what happened? What could you have done differently? What can you do now to make it right? This empowers them to think through the consequences and problem solve themselves. It's about fostering their internal compass, not imposing ours externally.
So it's guiding their thought process rather than just dictating the outcome.
Precisely. And this leads to another important aspect, allowing them to experience natural consequences. If they forget their homework, the natural consequence might be a lower grade or having to explain it to their teacher. If they forget their sports gear, they might have to sit out for a bit. These aren't punitive measures, but rather real-world lessons showing the direct link between their actions and outcomes. When they experience these directly, the lesson sticks far better than any lecture.
That sounds difficult as a parent, though. Your instinct is often to shield them from discomfort.
It absolutely can be. But remember, we spoke about this in relation to accountability too. True growth happens when we step outside our comfort zones. By allowing them to face these manageable consequences, we're equipping them with resilience and problem-solving skills for life. We're teaching them that while circumstances might be challenging, their response is within their power. This is the essence of internal locus of control that we've discussed earlier.
Circling back to the locus of control. That's a great connection. So we have modeling contributing through chores, guiding their problem solving, and allowing natural consequences. Anything else?
Fostering independence is huge. Let them make choices, even small ones. Would you like to wear the blue shirt or the red shirt today? Would you prefer peas or carrots with dinner? As they grow, these choices expand to bigger decisions about their activities, friendships, and future paths. Each choice they make and own reinforces their understanding of agency and accountability. They learn that their decisions have impact, and they're the architects of their own lives.
This all ties together beautifully, Alex. It's about creating an environment where responsibility is woven into the fabric of daily life, not just an abstract concept.
Precisely. And we also need to praise effort and learning, not just outcomes. When a child diligently practices an instrument, even if they aren't a virtuoso yet, acknowledge their commitment and hard work. This reinforces the value of perseverance and dedication, key components of responsibility. So, to recap, we found that modeling our own responsibility, assigning age-appropriate family contributions, guiding their problem solving when they falter, allowing them to experience natural consequences, and fostering independence through choices are all crucial pillars. These actions help children develop an intrinsic motivation to be responsible, rather than just doing things because they have to.
It's about nurturing that internal drive. It's a long-term investment in their character and their future success.
Absolutely. By implementing these strategies consistently, we empower our children to build a strong, responsible foundation that will serve them throughout their lives. Next episode, we'll shift our focus to the professional world, exploring how owning your career trajectory can lead to significant growth. Welcome back. Last time, we explored building a responsible foundation for children. Now we focus on careers.
It's easy to feel like our jobs happen to us. But today, we're discussing how taking ownership in our professional lives is essential for advancement and satisfaction.
Absolutely. Let's revisit the locus of control from episode 3. Remember internal versus external?
An internal locus means believing you have power over your life. External means believing fate or outside forces are in charge.
Exactly. In careers, this is huge. With an external locus, you might blame your boss for a missed promotion or colleagues for a project. You might feel stuck, waiting for opportunities.
That sounds like a recipe for staying stagnant. So, How do we cultivate an internal locus of control professionally?
It starts with consciously choosing to own your trajectory. Instead of waiting for a challenging project, ask for it. Instead of being passive with feedback, see it as valuable data. If you believe you can influence your career, what actions do you naturally take?
You'd be more proactive. You'd seek learning, improve skills, and focus on contributing rather than waiting for tasks. You're an active participant in your career development.
Precisely. Owning your trajectory means your career isn't passive, it's active construction. This means responsibility for your performance, contributions, and mistakes. When a project fails, ask, what was my role? What could I have done differently?
That's a powerful shift. It moves us from a victim to an architect of our success. And it's not just about big projects, is it? It's also about day-to-day responsibilities.
Exactly. It's about showing up ready to work, being reliable, and taking pride in your output. Owning tasks from beginning to end. If you're assigned a report, you ensure its accuracy, present it clearly, and follow up. That's owning your work.
And when you do that, you build trust and credibility. People see you as dependable. This naturally leads to more opportunities.
Without a doubt, promotions often go to those who have consistently demonstrated ownership and initiative. It's about showing you can handle more, understand the bigger picture, and are committed to the organization's success. This proactive approach also extends to learning.
The professional landscape is always changing. How does ownership play into adapting and learning?
It means you don't wait for mandated training. You identify relevant skills and actively seek ways to learn them. Maybe an online course, a workshop, or a mentor. You're in the driver's seat. Your professional growth is your responsibility, not solely your employer's.
So, it's about being proactive in identifying your needs and seeking resources to meet them. It's about seeing your career as a continuous development process.
Precisely. And this ownership over your learning leads to greater job satisfaction and a stronger sense of purpose. When you feel like you're shaping your career, you're more engaged and fulfilled. You're not just doing a job, you're building a career.
It sounds like a shift from what can my job do for me to what can I do with my job and my career?
That's a perfect way to put it. And it circles back to the illusion of blame from episode 2. Attributing success and failure externally disempowers us. In careers, this means attributing a promotion to luck or a layoff to unfairness, rather than examining our own actions, decisions, and preparedness.
So, by embracing responsibility for our career trajectory, we reclaim our power and agency. We're saying, I am in charge of where my professional life is headed.
Exactly. This doesn't mean external factors don't exist. We face challenges, but our response is where our power lies. Do we get discouraged and play the victim, or do we see them as opportunities to adapt and learn? Owning our career means owning our response to these circumstances.
And that leads to resilience. If you're used to taking ownership and seeking solutions, setbacks become less devastating and more like temporary detours.
They absolutely do. Owning your career trajectory is a powerful mindset shift. It's about moving from a passive recipient of work to an active creator of your professional destiny. Your skills, your attitude, and your willingness to learn are your greatest assets, and you are responsible for cultivating them.
So, to recap, owning your career trajectory means cultivating an internal locus of control. This involves taking initiative, owning your contributions and mistakes, being proactive in learning, and focusing on your response to challenges, not blaming external factors. It's about seeing your career as an ongoing construction, where you are the primary architect.
Well said, Lisa. This proactive mindset is not just about climbing the corporate ladder. It's about building a deeply satisfying and meaningful professional life, brick by intentional brick. Next episode, navigating setbacks and failures in your career. Welcome back to the Responsibility Revolution. Last time, we explored how taking ownership of your career trajectory can lead to professional growth. Today, we're discussing navigating setbacks and failures in your career.
Indeed, Alex. A career rarely follows a straight path. There are always challenges, and how we react to them truly defines our resilience.
Exactly. The core principle remains responsibility. When faced with a setback, the first instinct is often to blame external factors. But the responsibility revolution asks, what was my role in this outcome?
That's a tough question to ask. It's so tempting to point fingers elsewhere. So, Alex, when a project goes wrong, what does taking responsibility constructively look like?
It starts with a mindset shift. Instead of this project failed because we ask, what could I have done differently to influence a better outcome? This isn't about self-blame, but self-awareness and correction.
So, it's about dissecting the situation, not dwelling on the mistake. Can you share an example?
Imagine a project missed its deadline. External factors might be blamed, but taking responsibility internally means examining your own actions. Did you estimate resources accurately? Set realistic expectations? Proactively identify risks? Perhaps you didn't communicate status clearly or waited too long to ask for help.
That makes sense. It's examining your own contributions, even if external factors played a part, like a doctor diagnosing an illness.
A brilliant analogy. It's about applying that diagnostic approach to our own actions. When we attribute failure solely to external factors, we give away our power. By looking inward, we reclaim it. We can't control everything that happens, but we absolutely control our response.
And taking responsibility for our response is key to learning and growth. After this internal diagnosis, what's the next step to turn a setback into an opportunity?
Extracting the lessons. Every setback is feedback. Ask, what specific skill did I need to develop? Project management, communication, technical expertise? This insight tells you where to focus your improvement efforts. Instead of, I'm bad at public speaking, realize I need to practice my presentation skills, especially Q&A.
That reframing turns a label of inadequacy into a concrete development goal. So, we've identified the lesson. Then what?
We need to integrate that learning. Actively apply what you've learned in future situations. If you didn't build enough buffer time into past plans, consciously add that buffer to your next plan. This transforms past mistakes into future successes.
So, it's not just understanding the lesson, but actively implementing it. That creates a continuous improvement cycle.
Precisely. And this builds resilience. When you have a track record of facing setbacks, taking responsibility, learning, and applying lessons, you build immense confidence. You're not afraid of failure. You see it as part of the journey.
That's a powerful perspective shift, moving from fear to proactive engagement. What about when the setback feels personal, like a layoff or harsh criticism?
Those are challenging. After a layoff, it's easy to feel victimized. But even then, we look at our own contributions. Were there performance issues we ignored? Skills we failed to update? Could we have networked more effectively? Even if the layoff was due to economic factors, our responsibility lies in our preparedness, adaptability, and how we move forward.
And harsh criticism can be incredibly difficult to hear, often triggering defensiveness.
Absolutely. Responsible professionals learn to listen for the kernel of truth in criticism, even if delivered poorly. Is there a pattern of behavior highlighted? A blind spot? Again, it's about extracting useful information for your development. This is where an internal locus of control is paramount. You can't control how feedback is delivered, but you can control how you receive and act upon it.
It sounds like a continuous process of self-reflection and action. Taking responsibility for career setbacks isn't about being perfect, it's about commitment to growth.
Exactly. Setbacks aren't endings, but opportunities in disguise. They are catalysts for learning and for truly owning your professional journey. When you embrace this, you become more resilient and more valuable.
So, to recap, when facing career setbacks, Shift from blame to responsibility. Ask yourself, what was my role? Then extract the lessons learned. What skills do you need to develop? Finally, integrate these lessons by applying them to future situations, creating a cycle of growth and resilience.
A perfect summary, Lisa. Owning your career means owning it all: triumphs, challenges, and lessons. It's how we truly steer our own ship.
And that leads us perfectly into our next episode, exploring the ultimate frontier of responsibility, personal growth.
Wonderful. Join us, then, as we continue the responsibility revolution. Today, we're tackling what might be the most profound application of our central theme: personal growth.
It absolutely is, Alex. We've spent the last 10 episodes digging into the nitty-gritty of owning our relationships, our careers, how we handle setbacks, all of that. But today, we're turning the spotlight inward, to ourselves. How does radical responsibility shape who we are and who we're becoming?
Exactly. Think about it. We've talked about owning our responses, not our circumstances. That's a huge part of personal growth. If something happens to you, you can't control the event itself, but you can control how you react. That's where personal growth truly begins, by taking ownership of your internal landscape.
So, it's not just about external actions, but our internal states too? Our thoughts, our beliefs, even our habits?
Precisely. Personal growth asks us to look at our patterns. Are you someone who habitually procrastinates? Do you hold onto limiting beliefs about your own capabilities? Responsibility means saying, okay, this is my pattern. This is my belief. And if I want to grow, I am the one who needs to change it. It's a powerful shift from this is just how I am to this is how I am choosing to be. And I can choose differently.
That choosing differently is key. It implies agency. We're not passive recipients of our own personalities. We actively shape them through our choices and our willingness to examine them.
Right? And this ties back to everything we've discussed. Remember episode 3, the locus of control? Personal growth is fundamentally about strengthening your internal locus of control. When you believe your growth is dictated by external factors, luck, other people, circumstances, you're stuck. But when you realize your beliefs, your effort, your self-discipline are the drivers, that's when exponential personal growth becomes possible.
So, by owning our habits, we're essentially owning the building blocks of our identity. A person who reads every day becomes a reader. A person who practices a skill becomes proficient.
You've got it. It's about the deliberate cultivation of qualities and skills. If you want to be more patient, you don't just wish you were more patient. You take responsibility for practicing patience in frustrating moments. You accept the discomfort. You observe your automatic reactions, and you consciously choose a more patient response. Each time you do that, you're strengthening that quality within yourself. You're building the identity of a patient person.
And this level of responsibility, as you said, is the ultimate frontier because it's so intimate. It's not something you can easily deflect or blame on someone else. Even our beliefs, which can feel so ingrained, are ultimately choices we've made consciously or unconsciously over time.
That's a really important point, Lisa. Our beliefs, whether they serve us or hold us back, are often deeply interconnected. For example, if you have a belief that you're not good enough, that belief likely influences your habits. Maybe you avoid challenging tasks. It influences your responses to setbacks. You might give up easily. And it influences your personal growth. Why bother trying to grow if you already believe you're not capable? Owning that belief then becomes the first step to dismantling it.
So, to break it down for our listeners, personal growth, through the lens of responsibility, means first acknowledging our current habits and beliefs without judgment, then understanding that we have the power to change them, and finally, taking deliberate action, small, consistent steps to cultivate the habits and beliefs that align with the person we aspire to be.
Perfectly summarized. And this isn't a one-time event. It's a continuous process. Personal growth isn't a destination. It's a way of living. It's about embracing a lifelong commitment to learning, evolving, and becoming a more capable, more resilient, and more fulfilled version of yourself. Every area we discussed, relationships, career, parenting, all benefit exponentially when we approach them from a place of internal, personal responsibility. It's the foundation that supports everything else.
It really does bring everything full circle. We've seen how owning our role in our relationships makes them stronger, how owning our career trajectory leads to greater fulfillment, and how owning our responses to challenges builds resilience. Now, we see that all of that is powered by the core engine of personal growth, fueled by radical responsibility for our inner world.
Absolutely. It's the ultimate leverage point. When you own your personal growth, you're not just changing yourself. You're changing your potential impact on everything and everyone around you. You're becoming the architect of your own evolution.
It's a lot to take in, but also incredibly empowering. This episode really highlights that the quality of our lives is intrinsically linked to the quality of our inner work, and we are the ones in charge of that work.
And that's the essence of the responsibility revolution when it comes to personal growth. It's the ultimate frontier because it's the most intimate and the most profound because it unlocks everything else.
So, to recap this episode, we've explored how personal growth is the ultimate frontier of responsibility. It involves owning our habits and beliefs, understanding that we have the agency to change them, and taking consistent, deliberate action to cultivate who we want to become. This internal ownership is the bedrock upon which all other areas of our lives flourish.
Indeed. And with that, we're moving towards the end of our series. Next up, we'll be discussing how you can continue this journey, overcoming obstacles, and building an even more resilient future.
You won't want to miss it.
Next episode, Overcoming Obstacles, Your Resilient Future. Welcome back. Last time, we discussed personal growth as the ultimate frontier of responsibility. Now, let's tackle overcoming obstacles.
That's right, Alex. We've spent a lot of time building the foundation of responsibility, understanding what it means to own our responses and our roles. But what happens when that all feels a bit too much? When the challenges seem too big to tackle?
Exactly. It's natural to face roadblocks. We're going to talk about some of the most common ones: fear, self-doubt, and that feeling of being utterly overwhelmed. And more importantly, we'll equip you with tools to navigate through them, reinforcing that this revolution is all about building a resilient future for yourself.
So, Alex, let's start with fear. Fear of what? Fear of failing. Fear of the unknown. Fear of what taking responsibility might actually cost us?
All of that, Lisa, and then some. Fear often masquerades as a good reason not to act, not to take that next step. It whispers doubts in our ear, telling us it's safer to stay put, to let things unfold without our direct involvement. But remember what we discussed in episode 3 about the locus of control? That feeling of helplessness often stems from a fear-driven external locus of control. We fear the outcome, so we avoid influencing it.
So, if fear is the roadblock, what's the path around it?
It's about acknowledging the fear, not letting it paralyze you. Think of it like this. Imagine you're staring at a locked door. Fear tells you there's a monster behind it. Instead of retreating, you decide to look for the key. That's where courage comes in. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite the fear. We can build this courage by taking small, manageable steps. If the overall goal feels daunting, break it down. What's the very next tiny action you can take that moves you forward, even just an inch?
I love that distinction, Alex. Courage is acting despite fear and breaking things down into tiny steps. So, what about self-doubt? That inner voice that says, I'm not good enough, or I don't have what it takes?
Self-doubt is closely related to fear, but it's more focused on our own perceived limitations. It's that imposter syndrome telling us we're going to be found out. We've all experienced it. This is where leaning into our past successes, even small ones, becomes vital. Remember episode 11 on personal growth? We talked about celebrating those wins, no matter how modest. Each time you've overcome a challenge, you've proven your capability. Self-doubt tries to erase that history.
So, we need to actively remind ourselves of our competence. What's a practical way to do that when the doubt is screaming the loudest?
Create an evidence journal. This isn't about bragging. It's about collecting proof against the claims of self-doubt. Whenever you accomplish something, big or small, or when you see a positive outcome from one of your responsible actions, jot it down. When self-doubt creeps in, open that journal and review the evidence. It's a tangible reminder that you do have what it takes. And connect this back to episode 9 about owning your trajectory in your career. What do we say then? That progress, not perfection, is the goal. When you doubt your professional abilities, recall that idea.
An evidence journal. I can see how that would be incredibly powerful. Now, let's talk about that feeling of overwhelm. It's when everything piles up and you just want to shut down. It can feel like standing at the bottom of a mountain and not even knowing which direction is up.
Overwhelm is the feeling that the mountain is too steep, too wide, too insurmountable. It's often a result of trying to take on too much at once or not having a clear path. This is where prioritization and strategic action come into play. Building on our discussion of breaking things down, overwhelm signals that we might need to break them down even further and then identify the single most impactful first step.
So, when faced with a mountain of tasks, we just pick one pebble to move?
Essentially, yes. It's about identifying one task, one action that will likely make the biggest difference or clear the path for the next step. Think about the Pareto principle, the 80 to 20 rule. Often, 20% of your efforts yield 80% of your results. When overwhelmed, ask yourself, what is the most impactful one or two things I can do right now? Focus exclusively on that. This is also where delegation or asking for help comes in. Remember in episode 6, talking about relationship dynamics? Owning everything doesn't mean doing everything alone.
That's a fantastic point. Owning responsibility also means recognizing when to leverage your support systems. So, we've talked about fear, self-doubt, and overwhelm. These are significant hurdles. How do we integrate these new tools for overcoming them into our ongoing responsibility revolution?
It's crucial to understand that this isn't a one-time fix. It's a continuous practice. The responsibility revolution is a journey, not a destination. Each obstacle you overcome strengthens your resilience. Think of it like building a muscle. The more you push against those limits, the stronger you become. When you feel that fear or doubt creeping in again, recognize it as an opportunity to practice. You're not failing, you're training.
So, when faced with a challenge, we can ask ourselves, is this a moment of fear, a whisper of self-doubt, or a wave of overwhelm? And what's the smallest, most courageous step I can take right now?
Precisely. And remember those earlier episodes? When you feel overwhelmed by relationships, think back to episodes 5 and 6. When self-doubt hits your career, recall episodes 9 and 10. This is about weaving all these lessons together. This is the power of, and you can be scared and act. You can doubt yourself and still move forward. You can feel overwhelmed and still find your next single step.
It all sounds so empowering. Overcoming obstacles isn't about removing them, but about building the inner strength and the practical strategies to navigate through them. It makes the entire concept of owning everything feel not just possible, but achievable and transformative.
It truly is. And this is the essence of the responsibility revolution. It's about embracing challenges as opportunities for growth, for becoming more resilient, more capable, and ultimately, more free.
What a powerful way to end this pivotal episode. We've looked at the common roadblocks and how to dismantle them with courage and strategy.
Next episode, the power of and integrating responsibility across life. Welcome back. Last time, we explored overcoming obstacles on our journey of personal growth. Now, let's delve into episode 13, where we uncover the incredible power of and. This is where we learn to integrate responsibility across all areas of our lives.
That's right, Alex. We've spent a lot of time talking about owning our actions, our responses, and our roles in different parts of life, relationships, parenting, career, and personal growth. But one of the trickiest parts of embracing radical responsibility can be reconciling seemingly contradictory feelings or situations. For example, how can we be fully responsible for our part in something and still extend kindness and understanding to ourselves, especially when things go wrong?
That's a fantastic question, Lisa, and it gets to the heart of what we're exploring today, the power of and. For too long, we've operated with an either slash or mindset. Either I'm to blame or I'm a victim. Either I'm competent or I'm struggling. But life isn't usually that simple, is it?
Absolutely not. It feels so much more realistic to acknowledge that we can hold multiple truths simultaneously. It's like saying, I am responsible for my angry outburst, and I was going through an incredibly stressful day. Or, I made a mistake in this project, and I am still a valuable member of this team. This and is a bridge connecting different aspects of a situation, allowing for a more complete and compassionate understanding.
And this and is crucial for truly integrating responsibility. It means we don't have to throw out empathy or forgiveness just because we're owning our part. In fact, it amplifies them. When you can see your own role in a situation, it often makes it easier to understand and forgive others, and crucially, to forgive yourself. Think about it. If you fully own your actions, you understand the impact. This understanding then fuels your resolve to do better. And that requires self-compassion, not self-flagellation.
So, radical responsibility doesn't mean becoming a harsh judge of yourself. It means becoming a deeply aware and compassionate observer of yourself and your impact. It's leaning into the nuances. We've discussed this throughout the series, remembering episode 4 where we focused on owning our responses, not our circumstances. This and takes that a step further. It's not just about owning the response, but owning the response within the context of our humanity, the good, the bad, and the sometimes overwhelming.
Precisely. It's about building a resilient self-framework. When you've made a mistake, the either slash or might lead you to think, I messed up, I'm a failure. But the power of and allows you to think, I messed up and I can learn from this. I messed up and I am capable of making amends or doing better next time. This shifts the internal narrative from one of defeat to one of growth and progress.
And how does this apply to our relationships, which we touched on in episodes 5 and 6? If I've contributed to a conflict, the either slash or might be to either play the victim and blame my partner, or to utterly condemn myself for my perceived faults. But with the power of and, I can say, I contributed to this misunderstanding with my harsh words, and I also recognize that my partner's initial comment was dismissive. This allows for a more balanced approach to conflict resolution.
It opens the door for genuine connection. When you can acknowledge your part without absolving the other person entirely, or without beating yourself up, you create space for honest communication. You can say, I own my part in this, and I'm open to hearing about yours too. This is how we move beyond finger pointing and into collaborative problem solving. It's about seeing the whole picture, not just the fragments that suit one particular narrative.
This idea of integrating responsibility across life feels like the culmination of everything we've discussed. We've built the foundation on understanding blame, locus of control, and owning our responses. Then we applied it to specific life areas. Now it's about weaving it all together. It's not just about being responsible in our careers and also being responsible in our parenting. It's about the inherent connection between these realms, fostered by this integrated approach.
Think of it like building a complex structure. Each episode has been like adding a crucial beam or foundation stone. Now, with the power of and we're connecting those beams, reinforcing them, and ensuring the whole structure is sound. It's the recognition that the responsible person we are in our personal growth journey is the same responsible person we bring to our professional life and to our family. They aren't separate identities. They're facets of one whole, integrated person.
And this integration is what truly transforms us. It's the difference between functional responsibility and revolutionary responsibility, as our book title suggests. When we can hold both accountability and self-compassion, understanding our flaws without letting them define us, we unlock a profound sense of freedom and agency. We're not just reacting, we're consciously creating our lives from a place of wholeness.
It's about embracing that complexity. Life throws curveballs. We will face challenges. We will make mistakes. The power of and allows us to navigate these with grace and resilience. We can be imperfect and constantly striving to learn and grow. We can have difficult experiences and still cultivate joy and peace. This is the essence of truly owning everything and therefore transforming everything.
So, to recap for our listeners, the power of and is about embracing complexity. It's the ability to hold two seemingly opposing ideas or feelings at once, like being responsible for your actions and being kind to yourself. This nuanced approach doesn't dilute responsibility. It deepens it by allowing for empathy, forgiveness, and self-compassion. It helps us integrate our understanding of responsibility across all areas of life, relationships, career, and personal growth, leading to a more whole, resilient, and liberated self.
This has been a truly pivotal episode. The ability to embrace the and is the key to unlocking a deeper level of personal mastery and fulfillment.
Thanks for listening.
Welcome to the final episode of the Responsibility Revolution.
It's been quite a journey, Alex. We've explored how ownership can transform our lives, from understanding blame to applying responsibility in relationships, parenting, careers, and personal growth.
Indeed, Lisa, remember early on, we introduced the idea of responsibility and moved past excuses. We discussed how blame is often an illusion, hiding opportunities for growth. Blaming others or circumstances is like searching outside ourselves when the solution often lies within. This relates to the locus of control, knowing what we can influence and focusing our energy there.
And that led us to distinguish between owning our responses and owning our circumstances. We can't always control events, but we absolutely control our reactions. This was powerful when applied to relationships. Instead of faulting others, we learned to examine our own contributions and take responsibility for our part.
That sense of empowerment is what we aim to foster, especially in parenting. Episodes focused on nurturing growth by modeling responsibility and building an accountable foundation for children. It's about creating resilient individuals, not those who wait for others to fix things.
Then we shifted to the professional world, focusing on owning our career paths and navigating setbacks with responsibility, not defeat. Setbacks are learning opportunities, not endpoints. We also delved into personal growth and overcoming obstacles, clearly showing that responsibility is the ultimate driver of self-improvement.
The idea of owning everything helps us see life's interconnectedness. We learned we can be responsible in multiple life areas simultaneously without losing capacity in any one. It's about commitment, not perfection.
Commitment to our growth, relationships, work, and well being. The responsibility revolution is a continuous practice. So, as this series wraps up, what's our final encouragement, Alex? How do we keep this revolutionary spirit alive?
The call to action is simple yet profound. Live it. Weave these principles into your daily life, not as a burden, but as a conscious, empowering choice. When you feel the urge to blame, pause. Ask yourself, what can I own here? What can I learn? How can I respond constructively?
It's about shifting from being a victim to a victor, from a passive observer to an active participant in your own life story.
Precisely. And remember, while circumstances can feel overwhelming, your ability to choose your response is your ultimate freedom. This is where true transformation begins. It's about consciously choosing to own your actions, your thoughts, your reactions, and ultimately your destiny.
Think of it like upgrading your life's operating system. Instead of running on outdated blame and excuse software, you're now running on cutting edge personal accountability and empowerment.
And the wonderful part is, the more you practice, the easier it becomes. The more you take ownership, the more confident and capable you feel. This isn't just about fixing problems. It's about building a life rooted in strength, resilience, and true self-mastery.
So, moving forward, I encourage everyone to identify one specific area where they can consciously practice taking more responsibility this week. It could be a small interaction, a recurring challenge, or a goal you've been delaying. Start small, but start.
This marks the conclusion of our podcast series, but it signifies the beginning of your personal responsibility revolution. Embrace this mindset, live these principles, and witness your world transform. You possess the power to create your desired life, one responsible choice at a time.
It's incredibly empowering to realize that the keys to a more fulfilling life have been within us all along. We just needed the understanding and practice of responsibility to unlock them.
Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. We found immense value in exploring these concepts, and we truly hope you have too. Remember, your revolution continues. On everything, watch it transform.
Thanks for listening to this series.